In the Darvo model, you see this all the time on the internet. I think this is fascinating. Is there a brief way to take us through this?
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people might go, oh my God, this is happening to me.
Yeah. So Darvo, let's give props to Dr. Jennifer Fried, who developed this model. And Darvo stands for deny, attack, reverse victim offender. It happens in every narcissistic relationship, and she has the data to show it. So they will, let's say you go to them and say, hey, like, you got to stop texting this woman at work. Like, this isn't cool. Like, this is not right. It doesn't feel good. I don't text her. And really, like, what are you doing getting into my phone? How do you know who I'm texting? And you know what? Like, what are we even talking about here? Like, you don't even pay a lick of attention to me. It's always your friends and your job. And, I just sit here by myself all the time. Like, who are you? What am I even in? Do you see how that happened?
Yeah.
So now we've gone to a partner saying, like, what you're doing is not cool and it makes me uncomfortable, to you've abandoned them.
Right.
But Darvo, again, is that originally that work actually was done on sex offenders. But then we came to find out that it actually applied to anyone with an antagonistic personality. But it's really, this is the deny, attack, reverse victim offender. And it confuses the hell out of the other person, because now you're in a new argument. Right? Because now this woman who's saying, like, I'm not cool with how much, you're texting this person and it seems like a little bit too friendly, has now become, you've abandoned your spouse.
The other thing that was creepy about the narcissistic abuse was minimization, because this is, I guess, where somebody says, oh, you're just complaining about this, or you're always being dramatic. And sure, fine, in some ways that's just kind of crappy. But if it's medical stuff that's being minimized, now you're talking about life and death. Because I was trying to think about why this would be anything more than just annoying and hurtful. But yeah, I mean, if someone's saying you're just being dramatic because you have abdominal pain, you could ignore a tumor or something.
Oh, and it happens more often than you think. People delay preventative care. They delay mental health care. They may delay repairs on a car. I mean, it's all kinds. Like, it's not a big deal. Or they may, and it also may stall their lives. Like, oh, please stop. Your boss isn't a bad person. Like, let it go. And a person stays in a job longer than they should or something. So it's everything. But what it does is it undercuts a person's ability to sort of plug into the reality of their own lives, in the sense of, I guess this isn't that big a deal. And so what happens is, even long after you're out of the relationship, you don't feel like you have the voice to be able to say something matters or something is important. And because you've always been told everything in your life is ridiculous and small and all of that. Yeah.
Tell me about breadcrumbing. There's other forms of abuse, but breadcrumbing is something I hadn't heard of before.
So over time, a narcissistic relationship really becomes a place of neglect, right? So narcissistic people are really good at sort of showing up with, sort of attention and fun from time to time, and then not being there at all. And that sort of that back and forth thing is actually why these relationships are so easy to get stuck in, because there's enough good moments sort of sprinkled in there that you feel like you're in something meaningful or fun or important. And we make all our excuses on the basis of that. But over time, more and more and more neglect. And they're showing up less and less and less. So it's nothing. It's almost like you're with a person who doesn't even notice you're in their presence, which is actually a very kind of unsettling feeling. So people in these relationships will make so much out of the littlest thing. Like, they'll say, oh, you're not going to believe it. They say, because it turns out we were recording this on Valentine's Day kind of thing. But they'll say things like, you won't believe this. They said happy Valentine's Day to me this morning before they went to work. And that's it. Or they're like, oh, you're not going to believe it. Like, they did remember my birthday. I mean, yeah, they did. They had to go to business trip because their job's really important. But they did send me a birthday text. And this is their partner. And so you take this little thing, or like, oh, they came home for dinner. Amazing. Like, we're so good. Like, they came home for dinner. And so that sort of taking the tiniest thing and making it into all this good stuff, literally turning a breadcrumb into a meal, because the narcissistic person's learning they can do less and less and less, and you're still on the chain. But it's two parts to this process. The other person, desperate to keep it going for this reason of trauma bonding and all this other stuff, will make something out of that. And here's where it gets tricky, Jordan, because in our world, sort of the relationship industrial complex is like, well, appreciate every little thing they do. So you're reading another blog that's saying, show gratitude 5 times a day. That's almost masochistic, having to show gratitude to someone who's ignoring you.
And then, of course, if you try to end things with them, they'll be love bombing, right? Because the deprivation has lasted so long that they can now turn it up a couple of notches to try and retain you. And it seems like that might be more effective if they've deprived you in the first place.
Well, if they've deprived you, they don't even have to love bomb you. They, like I said, they just have to show up for dinner.
Show up for
They
dinner,
don't
right?
have to
Yeah.
cook. That's it. That's all they have to do. But they have to sort of say, you look pretty. They have to have sent you a birthday text. Like the littlest things become the stuff that is enough and in the relationship. And if they really do sense you slipping away, then they'll start the full court press again, just long enough to get you back in.
What is trauma bonding? You just mentioned that, but I've heard it before, but I don't really know what it is.
Yeah, so I get into it a lot in the book. So trauma bonding is this sort of almost this a connection, relationship, tied to someone we feel that almost feels psychologically unbreakable. And it's created by the backing and forcing between good and bad, chaos and consistency. So you're kind of always on your back foot in these relationships. And because these relationships often start from a relatively idealized place, things are great. You feel seen, you feel heard, you feel loved, you feel valued. There's all this fun. That becomes this sort of like bank account you keep trying to draw from your justifications. It will get overdrawn over time, right? But what ends up happening is that that over time, this will feel like you're justifying, you're rationalizing. But over time too, you're blaming yourself more. People say, this has got to be my fault. If it's your fault, then it can be fixed, right? You could do something different. People in trauma bonded relationships will find that they are constantly having the same conflict with this person. Nothing is ever getting resolved. It can also feel sort of, people, when they describe trauma bonded relationships, it'll be sort of, there's not a lot of there. They'll say like, I don't know. It's like we have a magical connection. I'm like, what is the hell is a magical connection? Like, it doesn't even mean anything. Like, give me something I can hang a hat on. Like, what is this? It's not like, they won't say like, this person is, I trust them. I respect them. We laugh together. It's none of that stuff. Or they'll get stuck again on ephemeral stuff like loyalty. Like, well, people love their parents. And I'm like, well, then why do you love your parent? Like, well, I mean, ejaculation doesn't qualify someone for be a parent. I mean, let's just call that straight. But people are like, well, they're my parent. Like,
Right.
give me more. And so when it's a trauma bonded relationship, right, it's kept in place by this, again, this sort of this pseudo connection that's created by, well, there's a someday better coming, and I know it's going to come, and I know I can do something to make it come. And people in trauma bonded relationships, Jordan, intellectually can even say, I know this isn't healthy. I know it's not, but I don't know how to tell you. Like, if I have to leave this, I'm having a sense of panic even thinking about it. So there's this sort of left brain, right brain, sort of like emotionally laden, I can't leave, but this intellectually present, I understand it's not healthy for me. That's the trauma bonded relationship.